Hey guys, with the virtual fans in the stands last night, I found it hard to see where Aaron Judge's home run landed, so I went searching and I found another angle. Check it out.
Fans here on Fox. That ball is drilled, and Aaron Judge for the fourth.
My gosh.
Launches a home run. Does not miss it. At the belt buckle.
Hey everybody, get your brooms ready. The Yankees are going for the sweep tonight against the Red Sox. The Yankees have the best record in baseball, 6-1. The Red Sox are in dead last in the American League East. Honestly, they don't look too good. They've lost pretty much their entire rotation. Found out last night that Eduardo Rodriguez, their left-hander, young left-hander, pretty good. He had COVID before the season. He's suffering from a heart issue. They decided to go ahead and shut him down for the entire season. Probably a smart move because the Red Sox aren't going to do anything this year. And the Yankees have pretty much just shown that they're the superior team over the last couple of days. Honestly, the Yankees look like the best team in baseball at this point. The Dodgers are pretty good. The Dodgers swept the Astros in Houston. A lot easier to do without the drum banging of the trash can lids, but I really feel good about the Yankees' chances. I just hope we get to finish the season. I'll be talking in an interview later on in this pregame show with Justin Parisi. He is the host of the Tech on Tap podcast. He's a good friend of mine for over 13 years or so. We took a ragtag team of Craigslist guys to the championship of the local men's league one year. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Also, I want to do a breakdown of Nick Nelson, the Yankees' rookie right-hander who made his Major League debut last night and was positively filthy. He has 3 strikeout pitches. And then lastly, I want to talk about Paxton just a little bit. Just before he makes his second start of the year, he was not good the first time out. So let's get started. If there's one area where Brian Cashman and the Yankees organization has really excelled over the past 20 years or so, really 22 years since Brian Cashman became the GM, is developing relief pitchers. Now, we don't develop a ton of starting pitchers, but the relievers that the Yankees tend to bring up have been tremendous. Guys like Dellin Betances, Chad Green, who was actually acquired via trade, and now Nick Nelson, maybe? This guy made his Major League debut last night. I had heard of him. I had seen him in spring training, but they didn't have the radar on him. I didn't really watch too closely in spring training because I hadn't heard of him until that point. And honestly, I am super impressed by Nick Nelson. I can see this guy being, if he stays healthy, a dominant Major League relief pitcher. He has 3 strikeout pitches. He's got a very high spin rate fastball. We saw his first batter that he faced in the Major Leagues. It was good morning, good afternoon, good night with the fastball. Very Chad Green style, with that fastball touching 98 miles an hour, up in the zone. Then he throws the changeup to get a strikeout with nasty sink to the arm side. This is a deadly pitch to left-handed hitters. Imagine you're gearing up for that 98 mile an hour fastball, and he throws you this sinking changeup at 88, 89. That's a 10 mile an hour difference. Filthy. And then he's got this hook on top of it, which is going to be disgusting against right-handed batters. He just spots it right on the corner, just with nasty break, good speed on it, 83, 84 miles an hour. So Nick Nelson is somebody to keep your eye on. There's obviously the vacancy in the bullpen now because of Tommy Kahnle, but even if there wasn't, this guy's got the stuff to be in a Major League bullpen, and I hope they keep him around for a bit. So the Yankees are carrying a lot of bullpen arms right now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Nick Nelson stick around for the duration of the season, even after the rosters shrink back down to 26. So before I get to my interview with Justin Parisi, I wanted to talk about James Paxton. I think he's going to be on a short leash tonight. We saw that his stuff just wasn't very good his last time out, and I think the Yankees are going to be keeping a close eye on that. If he's not healthy, you're not going to leave him out there. Because this season, as we've mentioned, the leverage is so high on each game, right? So each game basically counts as 2.7 games during a normal season, which would be 162 games. So if somebody has 2 bad starts, that's really like 5 or 6 bad starts. I don't know. I don't really math. but that's usually the point in which you would put somebody in the bullpen. I think that, with Clark Schmidt healthy and waiting in the wings, that Paxton needs to show something. They're not going to remove Montgomery from the rotation. He was too good his last time out. Tanaka, we saw his velocity was up last time. His breaking ball was good. He didn't get deep into the game, but, that's to be expected first start out. So Paxton needs to show that he's healthy, that he can go deep into the game, at least 5 innings. You got to give us 5 innings tonight, James. You got to get the fastball up to 95, 96. You got to show some cut on your cutter, some curve on your curveball. He's got to pitch better. And if he struggles again, it would not surprise me if he goes to the bullpen or basically to Never Never Land while the Yankees get some arms in there that are healthy. This season is just too important. And, you never know when it's going to be shut down. You never know what the scheduling is going to look like. So we're going to need all sorts of arms all year long. Got to get him healthy. So I always try and read the comments. I don't always reply. Usually I'll hit like or the little heart button. But a few weeks back, maybe a few months back, I did a video called Top 5 Yankees Draft Picks. It's on my top 5 lists. By the way, I'll be bringing those back after the season. And I'll be doing those during this winter. But on the comments for the top 5 Yankees draft picks, somebody said, big mistake leaving Thurman Munson off the list. And they were absolutely right. I just forgot him. I don't know why, don't know how, but I didn't even give him an honorable mention, which I usually do if somebody doesn't make my top 5. But Thurman Munson passed away on August 2nd, 1979 in a plane crash. That was, I guess, 41 years ago today? Wow. I was not alive yet. I wish I could have seen Thurman play, and I'm sorry that I never did. There's just not enough footage on YouTube of Thurman Munson. I went looking. I mean, there's some, but the 1970s just didn't have the level of camera work, the level of coverage that we have today. There's some footage, but just not enough. You can get the whole games of some of the World Series games and things like that, but Thurman Munson was a special guy from all indications. I know my brother Mike is a big fan. He's got some stuff on his walls about Thurman Munson and, plaques and things like that. And I just wanted to take a time out to recognize that I did make an error leaving him off that list and say I wish I could have gotten to see him play because he seemed like an amazing catcher and a great Yankee. All right, so joining me for the first ever interview for one of these pregame shows is Justin Parisi, host of the Tech on Tap podcast. Say hey, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
So Justin and I have known each other for like 13 or 14 years. We actually put together a team. I'd mentioned this earlier in my show, that team of ragtag Craigslist guys that in 2007 somehow made it to the championship in that Raleigh Summer League.
Yeah.
And then we got screwed because we had to face that AAA pitcher. What was his name?
Was it Mike Petrasca?
Mike Petrasca. Yeah, just fresh out of the Durham Bulls. And he had
finished his minor league season. He's like, I'm bored. Let me go shut down this Raleigh tag team here.
Right. So just for perspective for people who don't know, this is kind of just like a fall league that anybody can sign up for. Usually it's pretty decent players. It's all wood bats, 7-inning games. And you usually get every team has a couple of guys who are pretty decent high school pitchers. It's a question of who can show up and things like that. And then usually guys get hurt halfway through the year. So we're used to seeing maybe 75 to 80 mile an hour fastballs, rinky-dink curveballs. Occasionally somebody will be nasty. And then we get to the championship. I think we were 9-1. We were just filthy. And we were just beating guys with smoke and mirrors, with hit and runs and stuff. And then Mike Petrasca walks out there throwing 94 and just blew us away. That was.
I think you're forgetting an important integral part of that season.
What's that?
Well, game 1, we're sitting in the bleachers talking about what we're gonna do, and then the Venezuelan kids show up.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to. Yeah, right. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do to fill out the rotation, and we got basically I can pitch and one other dude can pitch, and it wasn't gonna be enough. And we saw these two gigantic Venezuelan dudes just throwing laser beams across the outfield. they're both named Frank Mendable.
Yeah,
and
they're
and
yeah.
they we were like, hey, you guys want to join us? And they were just like, yeah, we'll join you. And then they freaking carried us the whole season.
Yeah. Yeah, so you left that part out. We weren't actually the ragtag group you were talking about. We
Yeah,
had Frankie could throw like 94, and it was a
but
rock.
I think I should get some credit for being the GM of that team. It
Oh
was
yeah, I mean,
my
you gotta have
roster
more than
construction.
you got to have more than 3 or 4 guys that can play. So definitely, it was a ride. But yeah, no, Frankie and Tommy, they carried us. Tommy was the catcher. 'Cause
Yeah,
was
that's
pretty much-
right.
he was the only guy who could catch Frankie.
I think he hit
because
the
Frankie
only
would
home
kill
run
you.
all season too.
He what?
He hit the only home run all season too.
Yeah, he could hit. He could all run. I mean, it was
Yeah.
no, they were complete players, and we were like, oh hey, yeah, sure, you can play.
I don't think Frankie actually pitched that much for us that year, though. I think I ended up pitching most of the games just out of my own vanity, but I think I was 7-0 until we got to the.
Yeah. I mean, when he came in, it was like basically like he was unhittable.
Yeah,
And
I feel like
his only downside was he was wild.
he was wild, but that also made him effective because nobody wanted to get in there against 90 plus. That he'll throw two spots on the outside corner and then he'll frickin' destroy the no pepper sign behind home plate like in Major League. Oh man,
you'll go all John Kruk and just fall out of the box immediately.
Hey, what do you think of Michael Keaton returning as Batman?
I like the idea because I think what they're doing is the older Batman storyline and maybe even leading into the Batman Beyond series. So basically having the older Batman as a mentor to the younger futuristic Batman of 2099 or whatever.
I remember there was something called The Dark Knight Returns. It was like a cartoon version of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises was kind of based on that. But I feel like that would be a good Michael Keaton storyline. Like, go back to that 80s Tim Burton style, but with like better special effects, maybe some better actors, better production value, but have like Michael Keaton as the older Batman, maybe like, teaching somebody like a Robert Pattinson, or I don't know how it's going to work out, but like that would be a cool storyline, I think.
Yeah, the The Dark Knight Returns, that was a Frank Miller story originally, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with Frank Miller, but he did a lot of the Daredevil series. He also did 300. He did Sin City. I don't know if you saw Sin City. So he had a much darker take on Batman, much grittier. Batman's older. I think Superman, like, they get in a fight and Superman kills Batman, kills him, right? And Batman just fakes his death. Right. And he hides underground and he's running this like gang above ground to try to enforce the city because it's gone into like kind of a post-apocalyptic nightmare or whatever. So he comes back to fight this like lead gang member guy who like he needs to prove that he can beat him still.
That's dope. We need a Batman for this post-apocalyptic world we're about to be in here in the next few months, I think.
Yeah.
So what do you think about sports? Do you think that baseball is going to be able to pull off this COVID thing? We saw that the Marlins, the Brewers, I want to say the Phillies, the Cardinals.
Yep.
Like that's like 20% of the league has had basically a week's worth of games canceled. What they're saying now is they might not even really count records. They might just go by winning percentage and not have everybody play the same amount of games. They're going to do 7-inning double headers, starting with a runner on second base and extra innings. It seems like this is a really novelty season. Do you think they're going to be able to make it through it?
It's tough to say. I feel like that, if you look at the comparison of teams that leagues that have tried to do this, like you look at the NBA versus MLB, and I think the NBA has the right idea. They have the pod, they have everybody kind of isolated. They've had some cases, of course, but it's been much less widespread than baseball. The downside of the opposite side of that is baseball has way more players. Like
right.
NBA's got like 5 main guys, and you got like a few bench guys, so you get about 11 players, and you get coaches and stuff. But MLB's got 40 guys on each team, and they're all sharing the locker room. The culture's a bit different in MLB than the NBA. I mean, you see like Mattingly in the dugout with his mask pulled down under his nose and stuff. Just it's not as you're not going to see it taken as seriously in MLB potentially. Right. And then the fact that they have to travel, it's minimal travel, but they're traveling.
What I'm worried about is, what happens in September when you got 10 or 15 games left in the season and, teams are out of it. And you got a lot of these young guys, 22, 23 years old, think they're invincible. and their team is out of it. They're like, screw it. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go to this party. I'm going to do this and that. And then they're going to infect other teams, like, going into the postseason. I'm worried that the integrity of the season could end up getting compromised to the point where you either have to do the asterisk or you're just going to have to shut everything down at the worst time. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that, theoretically, there may only be 10 or 15 games left in the season now.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, it could be. You're not far off. Like, I saw the Rob Manfred. He released that statement and said that they're upping their protocols. They're sending like basically a compliance officer with every team to kind of make sure guys are keeping on the protocol. But how are you going to keep one guy watching 30 or 40 other young men? How are you gonna basically police that? I just don't think it's possible. And baseball players, and sorry to all the baseball players out there, we're not known for being the brightest bunch. we people still chew tobacco and spit seeds, and we're idiots. And it's it's just a matter of time, I think, before this gets out of hand. And if you see somebody legit, like a major league player or a beloved coach, or if you see somebody really like die from this, that's going to change the whole narrative. If Mike Trout dies from COVID, they're shutting down the season the next day.
Well, I mean, it's an unfortunate reality for some people that it doesn't seem to be a reality for them until it affects them personally, right? And for them, it's not affecting them personally because most of them get it. And they maybe get a little sick and they're done. But, they don't think, there's been some baseball wives out there that have been talking about how, what about when they bring it home to my newborn kid or me? Right. They've got family members that might have some comorbidities. It's tough, right? Because, I mean, there's a lot more aspects to it than just the players and coaches.
Right. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm just not optimistic about it. So you're a Mets fan. How are the Mets looking this year?
About the same.
I feel bad for you guys that you actually have Robinson Cano on your team, the most overpriced second baseman in baseball these days.
We don't actually have Robinson Cano on the team. We have Robinson Cano like in the twilight of his career on the team.
You have the ghost of Robinson Cano.
It's the classic team. Mets ploy. Like, hey, let's get this big name player to bring in the fans. Oh, well, is he going to be expensive? No, he's way past his prime. People will recognize his name. And he's going to underperform, but hey, that's okay.
So, but you guys do have some exciting talent. Pete Alonso last year broke Aaron Judge's record.
Yeah.
So props to that. He's an exciting hitter to watch, man. He swings so hard, but still barrels it up every time. There are very few guys who do that. Like Mark McGwire used to do that. Like he actually didn't swing that hard. He was just so strong that, he could just flick it, but he had just enormous bat speed. And when he barreled it up, it was just crushed. I can't think of anybody who puts the kind of effort into their swing and still barrels it up as much as Pete Alonso does.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of guys in the league that overswing. Like I think Giancarlo Stanton is one of those guys. Like,
right.
And if he gets a hold of it, you're going to die probably.
Tanaka survived. Did you see Tanaka?
I did see that, and
oh my God,
I don't. And what's good about that is Stanton didn't really get all of he got all of it, but he didn't get the full swing into it. It was more like a little reach swing,
and it was 112 off the bat.
Yes.
But when he gets it, it's like 120. 120, and Tanaka's dead, I think.
Yeah, luckily that didn't happen because I think that would have probably ended the season as well.
Yeah, probably. Well, he's got he's been wearing this Kevlar thing when he went in there last night. It actually didn't look silly. They used to make them to where they were like the Gazoo hats or whatever, but now I think they've just got a lining that was probably recovered from some alien vehicle in the desert that they're, some extraterrestrial technology that they're lining the inside of hats with. So Tanaka looks like he's gonna be okay. But
what do you think about them doing that for every pitcher, right? Like kind of like having a precautionary Kevlar lining. Do you think baseball players would adhere to that, or do you think it makes some sense? I mean, football has helmets,
right.
Why not have it in other areas where you might get hit?
Well, I think it's up to the league to mandate stuff. I mean, I don't think you can convince everybody to do it. Some guys just think that they're invincible. I would wear it if it was available to me and I was pitching, mostly because I gave up a lot of really hard line drives up the middle because I suck. But if you're not bothered by the weight of it. I don't know how heavy it is. I've heard that it's slightly heavier than a hat, but it's not as inconvenient as it used to be. Then it's not going to throw off your balance. It's not going to screw you up, I don't think, too much. I think you should just go ahead and wear it. If I'm the league and, I'm seeing guys get hit by line drives, I'm just going to mandate it,
I feel like that maybe like high school sports should mandate those types of things, right?
Right.
Like maybe not major leagues because you're getting paid and,
Yeah.
you have your own, autonomy. But, high school sports and maybe college sports where you have kids that aren't going to probably make it a living. They're going to have to do other things, maybe start mandating more safety equipment in those areas.
Yeah. Well, I saw that like a lot of the Little League pitchers have to wear like a mask now, or maybe it was the hitters. When I was watching Little League World Series last year, they had a lot more of those like metal frames on the helmets and stuff like that. I don't remember that being a thing when I was growing up. I think if I was hitting in the major leagues, I would definitely wear that extended mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Because getting hit, like, did you see what happened to Giancarlo when he got hit a couple years ago?
Yeah.
His teeth came through his face.
Yeah.
Like baseball, like I don't think people realize how hard a baseball is unless they play baseball. I saw a post on Reddit where I guess it was somebody from like Japan or Korea, like one of the Asian countries, and he was like, "I've been wanting to get into baseball. Baseball's big over here, so I bought one. How do you guys play with this thing? It's like a rock." He was expecting it to be like a rubber thing, but it's like a 10 or 12 ounce like leather piece of like of rock. And it's gonna just if it hits you, it's gonna hurt. So
it's kind of the same idea with softball, right? Like people say, "Oh, softball, it's not that bad." No, those are hard too.
I miss softball, man. That's the thing I miss the most about this summer is I wasn't gonna play baseball anyway because my arm is like ready to fall off, but I can still drop bombs in softball. And I worked out all winter and I was like in really good shape and I was looking forward to it, but not this year.
Yeah, they're actually doing our season in the Apex League.
Are you gonna play?
No, I'm not playing. No, I mean, I thought about it and I was like, well, it's a risk. Is it a risk I need to take? It's softball. I mean, whatever. I can wait a year, right? At least.
What are your thoughts on like the next gen consoles, PS5, Xbox? You gonna pick one of those up?
I think they look great. I think PS4 is good enough for now.
Yeah.
I mean, like usually the game selection isn't great on the initial console releases.
Right.
They're very expensive usually in the initial releases. They haven't figured out all the hardware bugs, so I don't see myself needing one right now because it looks nicer, but I mean PS4 is just fine right now.
Yeah, I like PS4, but I kind of got to get my hands on the next version of MLB The Show once it comes out. I might not be an early adopter like first week, first month, but I'd imagine Christmas time, especially if we get another like stimulus check or whatever, then I might invest. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to check out the new even though Madden has really never changed.
Yeah,
I want to play with the updated graphics and stuff. That'll be fun.
Yeah, the PS4 I think still looks great. Have you played Red Dead Redemption 2 yet?
Oh God, dude, I played that every night for like 5 hours for like 2 months straight when it first came out. I walk around murdering cowboys for hours just.
Yeah, I just started getting into it during the pandemic because I had time now, right?
Yeah.
But it's great. It was like a way to kind of travel without actually having to go anywhere.
That's a good point.
Because the scenery is fantastic.
The one thing I hate about that game, though, is like when you're riding the horse, you got to like tap the X or whatever to like. They need to. When you're playing Grand Theft Auto by Rockstar, you just hold down the R trigger and it's like gas, and you're just exploring that way. But my freaking thumb was getting tired just from like hours and hours.
You can hold the X down and he
I know, but then he's just a light jog, right? Still, like I still don't want to. They should have some kind of like an auto jog version or something. I don't know what you're gonna call it, but they need something like that.
I hate how dumb the horses are. Like they'll be running and then you're trying to like do one of those races and they see an obstacle in front of them and they don't jump.
Right. Yeah.
You go flying.
You go flying off.
And then you do the ragdoll thing. Like,
what's the group of the they're kind of like a backwoods group of like a family. It's like the O'Doyles or something like that.
The Murphys, I think. The Murphys.
There's some group that like I went to a compound and they were all in this like barn and I had to like basically kill my way through it. And then like they kept showing up, but I had acquired all of their guns and ammo, and I was just like, I was stacking their bodies. I stacked their bodies in a pile, kind of like World War Z, that was basically all the way up to the roof, so I could just like I kind of walk on top of it. And I must have murdered these bounty hunters for like 3 hours. It was probably both the least productive and the most fun time that I've had in video games in my entire life.
I do a lot of fishing in this game.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean it's weird because I don't really like fishing in real life, but in this game, like, I'm gonna go fishing, go catch me some fish.
I've been messing with the what's it called, the hunting simulator on Nintendo Switch. Like I like to play that because you just kind of like follow tracks for a while, and you can play without looking. Like if I'm watching a game or something, I can just like pause it or whatever. During the commercials, resume. That's fun. So. All right, man, I just wanted to grab you on here to talk a little baseball, all that stuff. It's good to see you. Glad you're staying healthy.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Keep breathing that fresh oxygen. Let's get together when this is all over.